In alchemy, a physical process that reflects psychological processes, after a separated condition comes a union of opposites, performed in the likeness of a union of male and female. This is called Coniunctio. During my application process at Pacifica, I began to realize how much I needed this program. I had hit a point of stagnation as an artist, and I didn't want all of my art to be created from trauma. There had to be something else out there within me that I could tap into. While I prepared for my entrance interview, I bought paint, dotting tools, and started collecting rocks. I believed if I didn't pass my entrance interview, I was not meant to be an artist and would just try to satisfy myself by filling my home with aesthetic art that had no depth. But these stones had a plan for me that I was not yet aware of. After I passed the entrance interview with Susan and was reassured about my purpose of being an artist, I was very shocked at what was to come next. Carl Jung, a psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, discovered Australian chiringas and found a striking similarity to a stone he possessed. When I Googled a picture of a chiringa, I also noticed a striking similarity to a necklace of my own. Synchronicity is an event that does not obey the rules of time, space, and causality, but has meaningful psychological connections. My necklace is similar to this ancient carved stone. I felt the pull of the universe in that moment and wondered to myself, am I meant to carve stone? Ridiculous, I thought. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment and had a 2-year-old child whom I couldn't expose to the carcinogens and flying debris that stone carving produces, but still the idea nagged at me. I thought to myself, if Jung carved even one stone, I can too. A quick Google search showed me the stone he carved for his tower at Bollingen. Jung led me to stone. It's only right he gave me the push I needed to begin carving it. But why stone? It's viewed as the lowest form of creation. It takes outside force to move or change stone. It is a symbol of endurance, suggests eternity, yet we give it little value. Jung was interviewed and reads to us what the inscription on his stone carving means.
It is a verse by Arnaldus de Villanova, a famous physician and alchemist of the early 13th century. He reads, "Here is the stone, the insignificant one, cheap concerning price. It is despised by the stupid, all the more appreciated by the wise." C.G. Jung, from Gratitude, has made and put this stone in memory of his 75th birthday.
The way rocks are formed by a cycle of erosion, deposition, melting, and cooling in Earth's crust shows it takes time, energy, and force to create them. They go down into the earth and are pushed back up. The unconscious mind, a place where our conscious personality or ego cannot access, a place that has its own laws and functions, appears to use stone as a way to develop a conversation between the conscious and unconscious mind. This makes stone a symbol, an intuitive idea that cannot yet be formulated in any other or better way. Stones are a symbol of a bridging between the conscious and unconscious. Perhaps this is why the project that came to me felt immensely important, like something greater than myself or anything else I've done thus far. I knew I wanted to carve a lantern, but had no idea how. My classmate Bradley sent me information on toros, Japanese lanterns, and the project birthed itself. Each part of the Japanese lantern corresponds to one of the elements, as does the human body. As if out of thin air, an idea came to me. A dual lantern, a female presenting lantern and a male presenting lantern, connected by a bridge. I bought a stone and started to make my vision a reality. But the stone broke in half. The one became two. I too felt broken, lost, and ungrounded. I tried to come up with another idea. I would still make the lanterns, I decided, but they took a different physical form. I was not able to execute the original idea, so I just started carving. The lanterns that I made were completely different from my original intention. Two separate beings with no bridge, no body, no connection. Subsequent carvings were fulfilling and profound as well, but throughout these last 2 years, I've still felt a deep connection to the original idea I was not able to bring to life. And in my time here at Pacifica, I learned just how much this very large project represents. It is a representation, first and foremost, of the opposites and the bridge that connects them. Opposites seem to come at every turn throughout human history. The Aztecs worshipped Omoteotl, the god of duality. Kieran Legreese, in his book The Rebirth of the Hero, offers many opposites between planting matriarchal cultures and hunting patriarchal cultures, between what he calls Oriental mythology and Occidental mythology, the great mother goddess and the hero, harmony with nature versus control over nature, living and existing beyond the opposites versus living in the separation of them, a lunar yin emphasis versus a solar yang emphasis, existence as illusory or immaterial versus existence as real or material. There are Sky Father and Earth Mother creation myths that are also opposite each other. Jung also tells us the factors which come together in the Coniunctio are conceived as opposites, either confronting one another in enmity or attracting one another in love. To begin with, they form a dualism. For instance, he lists the opposites as moist and dry, cold and warm, higher and lower, spirit and body, heaven and earth, fire and water, active and passive, gaseous and solid, precious and cheap, good and evil, open and hidden, east and west, living and dead, masculine and feminine. In my final project, the female presenting lantern symbolizes the queen, Luna, east, feminine, precious, warm, earth mother, creation, spirit, detachment from materials, and union. The masculine presenting lantern represents the king, soul, west, masculine, cheap, dry, sky father, destruction, body, attachment to materials, and detachment from all else. When two opposites attract, they both learn to make concessions and sacrifices for the better of the relationship, a relationship that is healthy for the individuals as well, because they are integrating their opposites instead of staying in their extremes. In alchemy, the alchemist projects their internal processes onto what they are doing, which allows them to enjoy deep, passionate, emotional, and spiritual experiences in their operations. Coniunctio shows us what happens when one encounters a worldview perspective beyond the opposites. A fatal wound is inflicted on the ego. As it dies, the soul leaves the body. The spirit joins with the body. The soul and the body reunite. As above, so below. And then the eternal body is resurrected. What this translates to is a necessary cycle of separation and union to keep the opposites feeding and communicating with each other. If they are not in communication, they will still reach toward wholeness. As soon as a psychic phenomenon touches one extreme, it begins in a hidden way to increasingly manifest its opposite quality. Thus, we speak of the phenomenon of enantiodromia, where one thing falls into its opposites. Things naturally separate in life, yet are pulled toward each other. Jung believed that from the conflict develops individuation. It is an irrational life function, the transcendent union of opposites. Individuation is an individual path each person takes to become their whole self. Why is this tension crucial to start the journey of individuation? The unconscious will make itself heard regardless. There is an instinctual power of the unconscious, which time and again erupts into consciousness during individuation. This means sometimes when the unconscious has been ignored too long, it will bring its desires to consciousness. Jung believed that neurosis was the result of an imbalance between the ego and one or more complexes. What this means is when the conscious and unconscious are not in balance, we become neurotic. Providing a bridge, a consistent communication between conscious and unconscious may be a key to keeping ourselves balanced and away from neurosis. I do this by transforming stone from an obtuse object to a bottomless subject. Leaworth Bailey in Enchantments of Technology describes obtuse objects as detached material matter, and bottomless subjects as the true intention of reason, which, although held at a high priority, drops into a vast, influential collective ocean of desires and enchantments. Through stone carving, I transform obtuse objects into bottomless subjects. What that means is I am taking a detached, dead thing and pouring soul and life into it to make it bottomless. Because of this dialogue between my conscious and unconscious, I feel most myself, most connected with nature, most whole, closest to individuation when I am carving stone, because stone carving itself is a bridge between me and the other. Bridge is structure and pathway, a linking of opposite sides. Despite its anchoring, a bridge looks suspended, is subject to collapse, and associated with hangings and suicides. Only gods can traverse the rainbow bridge. Humans must pass under. Psyche appears to support the separation of conscious from the unconscious, but also a bridging that brings them into creative relationship. Yet the psyche offers guidance in the crossing. Unconscious projections that compel libido toward unconscious goals. Conscious goals, dreams that illuminate the background of interior experience and outer event. The moon-like nature of feeling that blurs unequal opposites into correspondence and parity. Coniunctio is a bridge between my time at Pacifica and the time after. A bridge between myself and my audience. A bridge between my period of stagnation as an artist and this new period of raging inspiration. Rosemary Gordon theorized a third area of the psyche, a space in between all polarities, including conscious and unconscious. In the same way, the bridge in this design is the third thing, literally in between these two representations of the polarities. Jung spoke of the transcendent function, that function which mediates opposites and facilitates a transition from one psychological attitude or condition to another. That description is indistinguishable from my current understanding of a bridge. James Metz talks of sitting with the presence of that which has not been made known to us. Sitting with the presence of the unknown for so many years left space for a bridge to my unconscious, to myself, to nature, to stone, and to all those who come in contact with my art. A true coniunctio, a sacred marriage between myself and the other. I am still questioning why I am called not only to create, but to share my creations with others. The creating is fulfilling itself, but I have a deep sense that my unconscious wants this piece to be seen, the energy felt, the story behind it told. Perhaps this is because every single action creates ripples that are detected even at the opposite edge of the universe. This project is, put simply, the collective unconscious seeking to reunite with itself, from the place where it inhabits me to the place it inhabits everyone else. Every one of us has an unconscious in our psyche, and it affects us individually. From Jung's writing, we can infer that we have a collective conscious and a collective unconscious. He says, the individual must differentiate themselves from the collective conscious, and the more a person submits to individuation, the more distinctly they will vary from the collective norms, standards, and values. This is true. One has to find their own path and create it with each step. When I interact with the collective unconscious, I feel more connected to the anima mundi, the world soul, and am deeply empathetic for the world around me. Connecting to stone reminds me to be a bridge myself, to connect to Mother Nature and to monitor my consumption of plastic and how my actions affect Mother Nature. It reminds me to be a bridge to other humans and to be kind, understanding, generous, and forgiving. It reminds me that the opposites really want to join in a coniunctio. They just need a bridge.